Hey guys, what is going on? And welcome to something a little bit different. So today I'm going to be doing the first video in a few that I plan to do that covers the RNG abuse, as people like to call it, in the Pokemon games. And I'm going to be doing it for the latest entries, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I really rattled my brain trying to figure this out for a few hours, and it was pretty difficult to understand everything that was going on. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a guide now that I know how to do it myself, to try and help some people out there who may not fully understand what they're doing or how to find shinies and whatnot by using this method. I'm going to leave all the necessary links and downloads in the description below, so it's all in one nifty package for you to download and sort out yourself. Going to go through how to install all the plugins and everything that you're going to need, give a few examples, and then eventually I'll get around to making some other videos about the other RNG methods, because today we're just going to be covering the wild encounter method. So, jumping straight in, the first thing you're going to need is the pCalc Ultra Sun Ultra Moon. You literally just download this. It's a really nifty plugin that displays all the information that you need for the RNG tool that you're going to be using on your computer. So you'll download this. The second thing we're going to need is BootNTR, which is a custom, well, it's an enabler for custom firmware. The actual custom firmware itself is NTR. This is just a way to get into that. So you're going to download the CIA of whatever one you want and install that with FBI, Big Blue menu, whatever you want to use to install your CIA files. You're going to need NTR custom firmware. You download this zip and it should have a few files in it, like n3ds.ntr.bin, and you're just going to take whatever one is relevant to you and put it on the root of your memory card. But I'll show you all that later. So you just download the zip there. Then you're going to need 3DS RNG tool. Just download the .exe. This is the main tool for RNGing monsters on any of the Pokemon games actually, but we're just going to be focusing on Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun. And then I've got this nifty website which I found from one of the guides on Reddit, where it lists all these locations for everywhere in Sun and Moon. They're still applicable to Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. The only thing is that the NPC count has changed. I believe that's because of some of the interactions with the Rotom decks, which has caused it to bump up. But it's not a problem. I'll explain all of that in due time. The correction stays the same, and I'll explain what to use that for as well. So, now that we've got all of our files downloaded, we will jump into the 3DS memory card, and I'll show you what to do with everything. Right, so we've got everything that we need to put on our DS. First things first, we're going to extract the NTR firmware. So if we just extract here, and you get these two files. They're very obvious. You just put whatever one is relevant to you. So you've got old 3DS and you want the old 3DS, new 3DS, etc. So you grab that, copy it. I've got an example of what your 3DS should look like. Obviously it won't be as clean as this, but you know, it's easy to follow. Put that on the root. The next thing we're going to need is the BootNTR CIA to install. So put it in your CIA folder, and then you just install that on your 3DS with FBI or whatever you want to use. Next we have the plugin. The best way to do this is just copy the plugin folder, go to your 3DS, paste it here. You might not have this here, depending on whether you've used NTR before. It's just the plugin format that NTR supports. As far as I know, it's the only, well, it's not the only custom firmware, including Luma, but it's the only firmware that supports its version of plugins. That being mostly cheats and stuff. So in here you'll have your two folders. These are for Sun and Moon respectively. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon rather. So that is on there. And that's pretty much it. That's the 3DS setup, and we'll jump into the 3DS to show you what's going on. Right, so now that we've installed everything and you ran BootNTR to load into the NTR custom firmware, I was going to try and show that bit, but unfortunately my recording software wasn't working too well with it, so I've had to skip straight to the game. But now you should be in the game. If you just stay on the main loading page, you'll see that we've got the plugins working. You've got all this fancy information here. The initial seed is it's like the head of the RNG bit. It's what you need to calculate all further RNG, how to calculate what encounters you're going to find, etc, etc. The frame count is it's what frame it is. It's basically everything is decided by frames that are ran in the game. So like let's say on frame 1000 you will encounter a Grimer. That's set on the frame and it's relative to your initial seed which you've got at the top. And then because you ran into a Grimer at frame 1000, the next one might be like 1004. It's another Grimer but different stats, etc. It's just how it works with all the RNG generation. It's quite confusing at first, but once you get into it, it's not too bad. So what we do here, we've got the plugin running, and we just need to take the initial seed. So as you can see, mine is 45E789B2. And if I flip over to our RNG program here, this is what it's going to look like when you load it up for the first time. You've got to make sure you select all the right things. You can see I've still got my seed in here from where I was doing it earlier. And I'm just going to change that to 45E789B2. So that is my seed. Next to this, we've got the trainer shiny value. If I swap back over to the 3DS quickly, if you press X and up, you get this nifty little menu come up. And right at the bottom, it says TSV PSV view in party slot 7. So we want to get the party slot open, which is start plus right, and that'll come up. And then we need to go back a slot, which is select plus left. And there you have it. It tells you our TSV. The only one we need is the top one, 2538. That's my TSV. So now that we have our trainer shiny value, we can go back to the 3DS RNG tool and pop it into the TSV box up here next to shiny charm. Only takes shiny charm if you've actually got the shiny charm, otherwise it will most likely throw out wrong odds and wrong frames and you will end up not getting any shinies. On a side note, this program isn't just good for shinies, but it's also really good for getting perfect IV Pokemon, so it's really useful in that regard. And now that we've done that, we can go back to our 3DS. Now I'm just going to get rid of all these bulky menu views. I'm going to keep up wild Pokemon data and just close this down. Between the Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon, there's quite a big difference in like NPC counts, locations, but if you just follow the locations on the website that's linked in the description and do the correction, then you only have to monitor the NPC count yourself and you can easily compensate for that. So I've chosen Route 1, and if I just go to my internet browser, I can see that Route 1 has 0 NPCs and a correction of 15. So if I go into the RNG tool, I can put the correction at 15 here. It says the NPCs are 0, but it seems that in Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun, possibly because of the Rotom decks, that you will get extra NPCs loaded, regardless of if they're 0 or not. So you just have to keep an eye on it yourself, but thankfully the plugin displays all that information for you. So jump back onto the 3DS, and we're going to jump into the game. I've already gone to a place. Right, so now that we're in the game, we're going to bring up the bag. Sometimes your NPC count might jump up a crazy amount like that. If that's the case, just reset the menu, which is start plus up. And then you just bring it up again, start plus up. So it would appear we are getting an NPC count of 48, which is incredibly undesirable. So I'm just going to move over here a bit. Hopefully we'll be able to get a decent NPC count coming up. So it looks like we've got 0 for standing here. And what you want to do is if you bring up your bottom screen menu, your character won't do anything, and the actions that your character performs actually advances the frames and counts as an NPC count in some circumstances. The method for this is similar to Sweet Scent and everything, and you're going to be using honey, so you're going to want to open your bag quite quickly anyway. So what you can do with this plugin is, once you're in game, you started everything off, you're ready to go, you just press start and select, and it will pause the game in live time, and then you can check out your frames. So I'm currently on frame 2087. If we jump back over to the RNG tool and put in 2087, and if we just go and calculate normally, you can see that it lists every Pokemon that's going to spawn for around 50,000 frames. There's a lot of Pokemon. The first thing you want to do is create a safe timeline. And what a safe timeline does is it finds the safest frame for you to land on, because frames are skippable because they go in odd number differences. Like sometimes you'll be going in an odd sequence, but you need to land on an even number. That's not a safe frame because you're never going to be able to land on an even number from an odd sequence. So you need to set up a safe timeline first. So what you want to do is click blink F only. If you're searching for something, or if you've already found a safe frame, I believe that comes up as safe frame only. So if we click calculate, it'll tell us that our next safe frame is 2087. So we're already on a safe frame, which is great. So what you want to do is you right click on your safe frame. If it's a different frame to what you're already on, you unpause the game by pressing start, and then you try and pause it around where a safe frame is. But you can also advance frames using this plugin by pressing select, and it'll go in whatever sequence that is set up to go. So if it's an odd sequence, it'll carry on going up in like 3s or 5s. And if it's an even sequence, it'll go in 4s or 2s. Maybe not 2s, but definitely 4s. So we can set this as our starting frame, and then we want to create a timeline. So that's not going to work because our timeline doesn't go like that. So I'm not going to set that as our starting frame. I'm going to go for 2127. So if I jump back into the 3DS, unpause game, 2107, see if I can advance to it. Well, it's the first time I've ever seen the frames advance in ones, so maybe we'll be able to get to it. 2127, great. So now we're at 2127. We can jump back over into the RNG tool, set 2127 as our starting frame, and then if we click create timeline, NPC count and correction is correct, so calculate that. So you can see all these perfect IVs coming up. They are sick. We got, look at that. It's a nice little pattern. Look. It's funny how RNG can determine this sort of stuff, and how, even though it is random number generation, it's somewhat in pattern. It's quite strange. I always love that sort of thing. Anyway, so we've got 2127 as our starting frame. If we jump back onto the 3DS, if we press select, we should be going up in 1 still. So I've advanced it a bit too far, but if we go to 60, 64 is a safe frame. 64 is a safe frame. So I'm going to set that again because it wouldn't unpause for some reason. I'm going to calculate the timeline. So we should be advancing in 1, 2, 3. Yep. So 2167 is the correct timeline. So I'm going to show it back so you guys can see. Set 2167 as our starting frame, and then if we go in frame range, we want safe frames only because I don't want to deal with random chance for this video anyway. I want shiny only because I'm only after shinies. And then if we click calculate, we will find nothing. That is great. What about if we take that off? There we go. So we've got a lot of shinies here. Let's see what we've got. 3424. So slot 7. Let's see what slot 7 is. A Slowpoke, great. That's just what I want. So slot 7. They want attack. It's not bad. I think I'd rather this Slowpoke. But we'll see if we can get the first one because it's relatively close. It's only on frame 3426. So our target frame is 3426 at the moment. Basically, after much trial and error, I deducted that in order to hit this frame, with Wild Encounter at least, you need to account for the frames that it takes to get into the bag, because it advances frames once you click the bag, and then once you're in the bag, the frames stop advancing and it locks in whatever you're on, as long as you use a honey to trigger that encounter. So the frame advancement is 6 frames. So we need to try and aim for either 3420, 3419, or 3418 to get a shiny. Depending on the area you're in, the sequence will be different. So some of these you will not be able to target because your sequence will never ever land on it. But if you get them grouped up nicely like they are here, then you should at least be able to get one. It just might take a few tries to get what you want. So we're actually only going for 3424 because I realised I was looking at the level and not the slot here. And I really want that Slowpoke. So 3424, great. We've got the frame that we need to get, so I'm going to jump into the 3DS. We're on 2167. So if I unpause the frame count, we want to go to 3424. Some of these frames can take a very long time to actually go to, so you kind of need to be a bit patient with it. But as long as you're doing it right and following it correctly, then you're pretty much guaranteed a shiny, which is great in my opinion. It's going to be lagging a little bit because I am streaming this to my PC as well. I think this is really nifty. It's definitely, it's not like catching a shiny from random encounters or horde hunting and stuff like that, but it's a bit more self-rewarding than, you know, doing PK Hex or whatever it is to gen in your Pokemon. So we're getting very close to our target number. I'm going to let it run to about 3350, and I'm going to pause the game. There we go. So we're on 3379. Our target is 3424. So it's still advancing by just 1 frame with each select. So you just want to spam your select. We want 6 frames before 3424 to account for opening the bag. So that's going to land us at 3418. So go 3418. So now we're on 3418. All you have to do to unpause when you're at the desired frame is press A. It'll open the bag. And hopefully once we do this, we should get a shiny Slowpoke. Let's check it out. They're into the bag. Sometimes it won't go to the correct frame that you want. As you can see, mine says 3424, which is the one we want. But in other areas, the frames appear like they advance more frequently, and that's typically what happens with a higher NPC count. But it's always fine. If it says like 3450, but you did it with the 6 frame delay, then you should be on the money. So if we go down, find my honeys, there they are. If we use a honey, fingers crossed, we should be encountering a shiny Slowpoke. We did not, no. So that's fine, that's a great example. What we're going to do, I'm going to pause it there. So let me just find a notepad quickly. And what I'm going to do is we paused on 3418. And we got this Rattata. So if you get the wrong Pokemon, because obviously this differs between NPC counts, frames, all that sort of stuff, there's a lot of room to go wrong with it. You want to take down the IVs of the Pokemon you just encountered. So got 3, 16, 26, 4, 20, 18. And then we're going to go into the 3DS RNG tool. We're going to get rid of Slowpoke because we did not encounter it. And then we are going to tick off this. And you're just going to copy in the IVs into the IV slots. 16, 26, 4, 20, and 18. And we can check none of these because it is not there. So what it could be is that I am actually searching in the wrong place. Right, so I figured out where I was going wrong. That's because I was confused between the day and night cycle between Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun. It's actually nighttime in my game at the moment, and I was on the wrong route. Basically, the locations in here are set up the same way as the website. So if you're confused about where you are, literally just count the number of locations on the website and then match it up to here, and it'll be the right one that you need. So we encountered a Rattata with these IVs. I put the IVs in. I found the one that looks here, Jolly. It's got a personal shiny value of 0827, which if we jump to my 3DS matches up. And jump back. So we found where we are and where we went wrong. We landed on target frame of 3418, but we encountered 3416. So it means that either our calculations were wrong, or it accounts for -2 frames, just because of the lack of NPCs and the correction in it. So what we can do now, if we jump back into the 3DS, we've used all the information about the Rattata that we need, and we can unpause it. And we're just gonna run out from this as quick as we can. Move my name back while we're at it. And now we can pause. Oh, actually, first off, if you get an NPC count which is ludicrously high, chances are that if you reset it by pressing start and up, and then start and up again, it should go back to normal. And you can pause the game again, go hover over back. So there you go, we'll be back at a 0 NPC count. We pause our game on 5242, and then we just jump back into the RNG tool and do exactly the same thing that we did before, 5242. We just got to create a safe timeline first. So we click save timeline. You want to click reset on here to get rid of all the IVs. We're not just going to go for Rattata, so create that. So our next save frame is 5408. So we're going to go into the game, unpause it, wait for 5408. And then we can just manually advance to it by pressing select. So now we're at 5408. We jump back onto the RNG tool, set it as our starting frame, and then we can create a timeline from it. So 5408, 5409, 5410. So if we go back to the 3DS, and if we press select, it should just go up in 1, as it said it would on. Have to bear with me, my 3DS is lagging out a bit. So 5455. That seems about right anyway. So 5455. Let's go back onto the RNG tool. I've already changed it back to frame range because we don't need the timeline anymore. We're going to click shiny only and see what we get. So the next shiny is at 13928. Looks alright. Speed's a bit less than desirable, but good defense. Anyway, we're just here for the shinies. Who cares about the IVs at the moment anyway? So 13928. And what is that? Slot 3. Let's see what slot 3 is. Slot 3 is a Rattata. I don't really want a Rattata. Slot 9 is Caterpie. Binary slot 456. So there's not really any Binarias in sight until much later on down the chain. So we'll try and go for this Caterpie here. I believe that's it. 9. Yeah, great. So we'll try and go for the Caterpie. So we need to aim for 13929. So what I'm going to do, jump back into the game. I'm going to start the frame counter again, and then I will just cut it to when I'm close to the encounter for you guys. So I'll chat to you in a second. Right, so we're coming up to the frame that we need to hit. Because I had the wrong information on the route and area that I was in, I'm still going to go under the assumption that it's still 6 frames to get into the bag. So we're going to stop 6 frames before our desired target. If that's wrong, we'll just compare it to the information I wrote down about the Rattata and then try again for the next one. That's what it is really, just a big trial and error playthrough. So I'm going to pause it at 13894. Our target is 13929. So if we advance, just keep pressing select. Keep going, keep going. This one's quite friendly because it only goes up 1 frame at a time. But like I said before, sometimes you get odd sequences, sometimes you get even sequences. And you kind of need to do trial and error for a few times before you understand how the RNG in the area you're trying to RNG in works, because they all work differently depending on the NPC count and quite a few other factors. So we want 29, so we're going to go to 23. And what you want to do is, while you've got this pause, you just want to jot down the number that you're going to try from. So you're going to do 923. Alright, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press A to jump into my bag. It's gone to 13929. I'm going to use my honey. I'm going to see what we get. Right, so it wasn't as shiny this time, but that's not a problem. So what I'm going to do now is pause it here so we can take down the IVs and see where we landed at. So we've got, I'll just go back to 3DS RNG. We have 1, 11, 0, 6, 22, 20. And we landed on 13929, which was Baneri. I just have a separate Word document up to help me type down the information for this. It's very useful to have. So we did not encounter a shiny, and let's see where we ended up. So we was aiming for 13929. It looks like, let's see, was it adamant? Yes, it was. Does it have clots? Don't know if it says. Ability 2. Not sure. PSV 1933. Yeah, so we landed on 13921, which means we were still -2. So, if we're landing on -2, that means that we have to go 2 above our actual frame. So I'm just jotting this down into my notepad document. So it's still 2 less. So what we should have landed on was 13931, and that would have given us the Pokemon that we wanted. Cool. So now that we've got that, we can jump back into the 3DS. And I can unpause the game. We're just going to run away from this. You don't need to catch him or anything. So run away. So first things first, we need to reset the NPC count. So you press start and up, and start and up again. And then we're going to bring up the bag so we don't increase the NPC count or frames by our character's idle movements. I'm going to pause the game. And I'm going to unpause that quickly. Alright, there we go. 16091. So we're going to go back into our 3DS RNG tool. Type in 16091 as our current frame. I'm going to try and find a safe frame. wow, so our save frame, that's our save frame for binary. So we want to reset this. So our next save frame is, great, so our save frame is 16091 already. So we don't need to worry about that. And then if we click starting frame, great timeline, great, looks exactly how it should. And then we're going to try and run a shiny. So we just unset all of this. Now next shiny is 17950. So let's see, we've got slot 7, we've got 4, 5, or 6. Don't really want this binary, it's pretty bad. What is slot 7? Caterpie. Alright, we'll try for Caterpie. So we need to aim for 17950. And if you remember what I've been saying, we've deducted that for this area and NPC count, we want to take the frame number and add 2 to it, because all of our previous encounters have landed on a -2. So we need to go to 17952. So if we jump back into 3DS, we'll let the counter go down. I won't do a skip for this because it's like a few seconds. And this is what you got to do for every area. You just got to do a few encounters to find out how the area works for you. Every area is different. I mean, it only took me like 20 minutes to find out another area once I'd done the initial research on how to use this and everything. And hopefully with this video, it'll be a lot easier to everyone else to go out there and do. So $17,936. Don't hang on me here. See, sometimes it stutters and not much I can do apart from unpause the game. Great, so we're still able to get there. 17948. Can I advance the frame, please? 49. You know, I'm starting to think that it might actually be my select button. So we missed it. So what I'll do is I'll cut it here and I'll jump to our next one. Just to jump in right here, our next one is going to be 293. So we've got a slot 1, 6, and 5. So we might as well try and go for the binary, because I'd prefer a shiny binary to a shiny Rattata. So we've got 2932 or 2933. Cool. So I'll just jump back into the game when it's near time. So here we are, we're coming up to our frame, which is 2932. I'm just going to try and pause it around 29, and then we can advance from there using select, hopefully. I've closed the wild Pokemon view just to hopefully improve my chances of select actually working. So we've got 2932, and by our calculations from our early encounters, that would mean that we need to go to 2934 to get this encounter. So I'm going to advance to 2934, and hopefully if all goes well, open the bag, use the honey, and we'll see. Let's bring up the wild Pokemon view. And there we have it. Shiny Binary. As easy as that. I can't say it's too easy. It certainly does take a lot of trial and error to find out what's going on with your game, because every game's different, obviously. And every time you load up the game, it's different. It doesn't take too long. You just got to persevere with it a bit. And it's really that easy. What you can do is actually, once you've found this first shiny, you can just pause it after you caught it, go through the whole process again, and just keep on catching shinies until you run out of your frame buffer. I think RNG tool only goes up to a certain amount of frames, so it gets to a point where you can't catch anymore, or you can't try and generate anymore. So catch this Binary. I catch all my shinies and love balls because I'm a bit gay like that. Great. So there's my shiny Baneri. Send it to the box. And there you have it. So then what you can do is bring out the bag. We have a wrong NPC count, so you want to reset the NPC count like that. Then you can live pause the game. Go back to 3DS RNG tool. Put in your current frame, which for me would be 23,932. Start a safe timeline again. So our next safe time would be 24,040. So we're going to advance to 24,040. Great, so on 24,040. Set as our starting frame. Create a timeline. So if we advance, yep, so it all matches up. And then I'm going to go on here. Shiny only, because we only want shinies. See what we can get. And then you can just catch more shinies to your heart's content. Sometimes if you're lucky, you get like a huge buffer. If anyone's seen it, it's I'm a Blissy's video, where he just gets like an execute which appears over like 40 frames. It seems like that's what's happening here. What's that? Slot 2. That's one awesome Caterpie that's very reluctant to not be caught. And it's adamant. I might even go for that. But there you have it, guys. That's how you RNG wild Pokemon. I hope this was of use to some of you. And I hope that, you'll have great luck with RNG in your own Pokemon. Like I said, I'm going to try and do a little bit of a series of these. I'll go through the different methods, because this is just one of like 4 or 5 methods to RNG in Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun. So if you enjoyed this, drop a like, leave a comment. And I hope you guys enjoy what's to come, because I love playing my DS.